Hello guys, welcome back to Dharma Geosphere. Today we'll be interacting on historical geography, another very important topic as far as the geographical thought is concerned. Historical geography is basically deals with the geographical phenomena that evolved over a very long time, and the historical geography is a kind of a synthesizing discipline which shares the methodology and topical criteria with various other subjects like the anthropology, history, geology, ecology, environmental sciences, and also literary sciences. Though most of the human geography is related to perhaps the historical geography in a way, but historical geography slightly differs from human geography in the sense that the geographical phenomena which it deals not only involves the natural systems, but it also goes beyond the anthropogenic activities that take place. And the historical geography has been a major component in many of the curriculums taught in schools and colleges, and many of the research scholars in almost about 40 countries have taken up the topic of historical geography as their most preferred topic for research. And then historical geography basically studies the cultural characters and features of various societies across the planet to understand how the characters and the features of their cultures evolved and emerged through times by studying the interaction with the local environment and also with their surroundings. In the early days of the development of historical geography, it was very difficult to define the term historical geography. Many geographers did not come forward, and the historical geography as a subtopic of geography was in a limbo till J.J. Mitchell put her foot down and she defined geography as the historical geography to be the first, the last, and all the time to be part of the subject of human geography. So after the development of historical geography in 1975, there was a separate independent journal of historical geography which actually broadened the horizons of historical geography and made historical geography as a separate topic of the human geography in many of the universities, and it invited articles from the scholars all over the world, and a lot of scholars contributed to it, and that's how the historical geography as a separate discipline continued to thrive for a very long time till, of course, again SAR came in the United States of America, University of Berkeley. The historical geography thrived on a very different line where Carl Saar took it to a different dimension by reorganizing the cultural geography on regional lines and bringing it in tune with the historical geography. So the historical, he believed that the regional geography or the study of landscape can only be studied by understanding the influence or the historical influence on the various aspects, including both historical and also economic, anthropogenic, then ecological and environmental, and even in fact, literary rhymes. So for him, the regionalism or the regions could best be studied by only understanding the historical aspects of it, and not otherwise. So, and because of him, throughout the United States, regionalism and the study of regions through historical geography came to stay, and then it also acquired a lot of criticism outside the US, where the discipline of geography as an independent subject was itself under threat during the 50s, and then everyone started questioning about this confusion of putting in cultural geography, the regional geography, and the historical geography all together, and then trying to bring it out. But then it slowly evolved. Even today, if you see, the regional specialists are there in many of the academic circles, in many of the universities, and so what Carl Saar thought of and proposed at that time as stood the test of time even today, and the historical geography remains very important. So I'll be showing you some slides on the various approaches of historical geography and the various realms of historical geography. We will also understand how Geosphere as a concept came in around the historical geography, and last we will understand the 3 stages of evolution of historical geography. Guys, historical geography is very important, not just because a question in historical geography may come or may not come, but what you understand how historical geography evolved will help you in writing the other answers much more in depth, because here is a concept that has stood its test of time in spite of so much of questions being raised against it. Okay guys, now we'll see the slides. Now we'll see the various approaches, the various stages, and the realms of historical geography. So here we go. This is the J.B. Mitchell's historical geography book, wherein she firmly stood the ground that historical geography as part of the geography discipline is here to stay, and then only because of her that historical geography evolved after her as a separate discipline. And then there are 3 broad phases for the development of historical geography, which can be identified. The first comprised the period in which historical geography was seen as central to the rest of the geography, alongside all the more important geomorphology. The 1960s was the second phase. It represented a period of decline, and also totally came down as far as the importance of historical geography is concerned, particularly as a field of research, though it remained in some parts of the universities as a separate subject, but no interest was being taken at that time during this phase as a research topic. So many historical geography they busied themselves more in exploring the possibilities opened up by the new concepts and techniques of the earth sciences, particularly the near neighbor analysis, the graphic theory, and more importantly the central place theory. So in the 70s, it was important that the historical geography experienced a kind of a new beginning, in fact resurgence, where this period in which the subfield was witnessing the slow emergence of a historically informed regional geography, which, while now accepting the contributions of the quantitative techniques as well as the earth science techniques, now it can make analysis of space-time data, matrices, etc. Is at the same time also to recover the anterior humanism and the traditional environmentalism which was left behind and was not taken care during the second phase that is the late 50s and the 60s. But the most far-reaching gain of these developments in historical geography has been the general recognition of the importance of historical specificity in the explanation of phenomena in human geography. This is where the historical geography's importance just took a turn around, and then it became so important, and it started re-enshrining the retrospective aspect, that is, the study of the past for the light it throws on the present and in the contemporary geography. So you will understand how more about this when we go on to the influence of biology on geography. In fact, I call it as influence of geography on biology, because it was Lyell and Hutton who propounded their theories based on how the geological features changed over time. It was that time that Charles Darwin picked it up, and then he used it in The Origin of Species. We will do that in the next video. That's a very interesting here, and I'm sure there will be one question related to the influence of geography on biology, and biology in geography, vice versa. It's very, very important. And then the approaches, there's broadly three approaches, four approaches. One was the operation of the geographical factor in history, and then the evolution of cultural landscape, and then reconstruction of past geography, and the study of geographical change through time. So it was underlined that each of the four concepts actually cannot be watertight compartments. They flow into actually each other. In fact, they cast into each other, and they are overlapping. Apart from the approaches, we also have the realms of historical geography. One geographer named Prince very categorically identified three realms of historical geography. He stated that ideas about the past can be derived from three arbitrarily determined realms of knowledge, namely the real world of the past, the view of the world in the past as held by contemporary or recent observers, and then also the models of abstract worlds of the past created by theoreticians, where they perceive and through their abstract observations, these theoreticians were able to reconstruct the worlds of the past. The first realm, that is the external world of features that actually existed in the past, the events that can be verified to have actually taken place at that time, has until recently been the chief study or the focused study or the most important study of the historical geography. So the first one, that is the time, that is very important. We will continue to deal with this word time. You see, last year there was a question related to place as it evolved over time, though they were given as envisaged by Tuan. So this time there could be a question related to time. And then second is the historical geographies have tried to reconstruct and rediscover the past worlds as they were perceived by the contemporaries who saw and interpreted reality around them according to their culturally acquired preferences. The third realm of inquiry into the past was the realm which is being invented into the minds of theoretical geographers. They were perceiving something abstract, and they are trying to invent or reinvent what was there in the past and then bring it into the theoretical geography. Then the word geosophy. There could be a short notes on geosophy because it's cross-cutting. It is important. If you have read through the book, the examiner will understand that you know what geosophy is. So geosophy is regarded, was the one who was being the main proponents of the concept of geosophy. He regards geosophy to be geography that histography is to history. So it deals with the nature and expression of geographical knowledge, both past and present, with what Whittlesey called man's sense of territorial space. There could be a quote given in the question, say, man's sense of territorial space. So you should write them about the time, how it evolved and how it evolved through various phases of geographical thought. So geosophy deals with geographical ideas, both true and false, whereas we do not deal with any faults as far as the historical geography is concerned. So by all manner of people, accounting for human desires, motives and prejudices. So this is how Geosphere differs from historical geography. However, here is what I was asked about the Yu Fu Tuan. He lamented that the history of environmental ideas has many times been studied largely in detachment from the question of how, if at all, these ideas guide the course of action or how they arise up from it. So thus many scholars regard these studies as no more than catalogue of images, capes and base geographies of the mind. So they therefore propose a role for such studies within but not apart from the historical geography. So this is how historical geography encompasses many of the views, including that of Geosphere, and that is how it survived the test of time, as in even today in many of the universities this discipline of historical geography continues to thrive in form of regional specialists being available as experts for guiding the policy of today's administrators. Indeed, Geosphere has little value when removed from the historical geography. So there are many concepts within the historical geography. If they are removed from the framework of historical geography, they make no sense. So it is the most human level on which we all know the past, since every past event is a complex combination of images, concepts and acts, intended and unintended consequences, and of course the environment. So in its meaning as a geography of the past, historical geography has been all through pursued by two sets of scholars. One set consisted of researchers who regard themselves as the practitioners of a branch of discipline with a distinct identity of its own, and these are the scholars who continued even till today, and that's how historical geography stood the test of time as a separate identity, as a separate set of human geography and therefore geography. Of course, there was also another set of researchers who invoked knowledge of the past, and in the course of comprehending the present day relations in regard to the problem or the phenomena under the investigation. These were those who sporadically did some interesting pieces of work in a particular area or in a particular region, and they came up with their findings. But both types of studies have contributed significantly to the study of human geography of the past, so that the developments in the historical and accordingly historical geography as it evolved can be categorized under three different phases. Because the historical geography evolved through different phases, 50s, 60s, 70s and even the 90s, so the examiners will definitely focus on some concept related to historical geography, if not a big question on historical geography. So 30s to the 60s, historical geography should confine itself. However, the tradition in the study of historical geography in North America, as I said earlier, it differed thanks to Carl Sauer, who took that in a very different dimension by bringing in the cultural geography on the lines of the regional geography. So North America differed considerably from that of the Britain, while the Berkeley School focused on reconstruction of cultural landscapes. In Britain, the more common pursuit of historical geography consisted of recreating the geographies of the past in the form of historical cross-section or period pictures. They used to take specific periods of development of this geography and then study that. In the post-quantitative revolution phase, that is during the 60s and 70s, the central role assigned to historical geography was transformed into a marginal sector of geographical research. So it basically became a topic of one of the most sought of research topics, because these research topics would throw out findings which actually dwelt into the past. They used to study the past, keeping the contemporary perspective in view, and then they used to relate. So these were very interesting topics. The post-spatial science phase, that is after the 80s, it was again a revival phase for the historical geography, because it became a lively sector for geographical research, and it was brought about by two related developments. First, was the rise of historical materialism in the social science discourse, which contributed to bringing history to the forefront in understanding of the present day societal relations. When the societal relations became complicated, they started looking back at the backgrounds and the historical aspects that influenced the way societal relations developed. So that's how even historical geography became into prominence. And then the second was the rise of humanistic perspective, of course, which incorporated the idealism as a related premise, one which seeks to understand the development of the Earth's cultural landscape. You remember how Carl Saar brought in these cultural landscapes. So this is very important. It continues to be important, and even today these cultural landscapes are part of many of the geographical research topics, and it will continue to be because that's they are very independent. At the same time, they have those influence. So these cultural landscapes uncover the thought that lies behind them. So each landscape will actually tell a story about its own when you actually look at its past. So, but the most significant contribution of historical geography to discipline has been the construction of an explicit social theory within geography. It is only because of historical geography, the way of looking at cultural landscape, the way of looking at the various concepts or the regions by looking at the influence of the historical factors on them. So that is how historical geography survived and stood the test of time and became an important subset of the human geography and also it threw in a lot of societal issues, thereby making it very important not just for geography but also all other social sciences which looked up to geography for the findings because they dealt it with the historical influences. So that is all, guys, as far as this historical geography is concerned. Any question, just go through this video repeatedly, just listen to it. A lot of important information, because now that you have gone through all the videos, this becomes even more important because you have grasped something which is important, which has been cross-cutting through the various phases of the evolution of geography. So I will come up with another very important topic related to the geographical thought, that is the influence of biology. We'll see how the landscapes and biology related to the evolution of Charles Darwin happened. So that will be perhaps another 2-3 topics, and we will be done with the geographical thought. Probably after that we'll move on to theories, as some of you, the students, have been requesting. So all the best for your exam. I'm sure you will all do well. Think before writing. Just don't look at the question and start writing. Think. Design your answer separately. Once you have designed, and then start writing. Give examples. Be illustrative. Bring topics from forth and what you have done before and now. Make it a complete answer. Draw diagrams, draw flowcharts, and make it look fresh, out of the box, not those commercial institutes and all that stuff. Okay. Thanks, guys, for all the encouragement and your continuous interaction on my videos. So we'll catch up. All the best, and I hope I'll be taking another video before the new year. Otherwise, a very happy new year and a prosperous new year. I'll catch up with you all in Lagos now. So stay safe, stay focused, study well, and go and crack the exam. All the best. Bye.